the jury find the defendant, Theodore J. Brasino, not guilty, Stacy C. Kuhn, not guilty, Lawrence M. Powell, not guilty.
And I see no fire equipment on the scene at all. We've got
April 29th, LA riots. Our city is burning down.
And it's a shame the way they are acting.
In the 20 years that have passed since the 1992 LA riots, Los Angeles, post-Rodney King, is a radically different place than it was when Daryl Gates headed up the embattled Los Angeles Police Department. LA's two-decade-long experiment reinventing the relationship between police and communities has, by all measures, been a monumental success and a model for the world to embrace. Criminal justice academics from across the country have analyzed the LA experience and have identified key factors that have brought the city's crime rate to historic lows. Strict sentencing laws, strong economic progress, aging demographics, and increased commitment to community policing programs.
1992 was a very different time than today. I was a LAPD sergeant. I'd been with the organization 15 years at that point. 1992, the city was gripped by a crime epidemic that was the worst in its history. Every type of crime you can name was 4 times the level that it was last year. 4 times. As a result of that, relationships broke down. And they not only broke down in the community, they broke down within city government. The mayor and the police chief didn't speak. And as a young sergeant, I saw that. And I swore to myself that if there's anything I can do about it, this will never happen again.
In 1991, immediately following the videotaped beating of Rodney King, the Hollenbeck Youth Center renewed its efforts to diffuse inner-city tensions by organizing the aleatory inner-city games in an effort to unify Latino communities across the East Side through a program of Olympic-style competition in collaboration with LAPD. Arnold Schwarzenegger was invited to become the first executive commissioner of the inner-city games and experienced firsthand the benefits of having police, business, and community working hand-in-hand in support of young people. In 1992, when LA's civil unrest erupted, the Hollenbeck Youth Center and the inner-city games represented one of the first working models for community-based policing long before anyone really knew what it meant. In the midst of the crisis, city leadership, headed by then-Mayor Tom Bradley, came to Hollenbeck due to its long track record and its new forward-thinking programs designed specifically to build bridges between youth, law enforcement, neighborhoods, and local businesses to demonstrate to the entire city that, yes, we can all get along.
I get a call from Arnold and some of his friends to meet with them over in Santa Monica, and I go down there and they're asking, how do we get into the inner cities? How can we help our city? So I came back again. I called our champion, Mayor Bradley, and asked if he would support us, and he said he would. I called the Deputy Chief Parks and asked if he would support us. I called a number of organizations that dealt with youth just like I did.
Rolling out the inner-city games on a citywide scale in the early 90s was an enormous undertaking. There were complex logistical and fundraising challenges, broad social and racial tensions, and a deep distrust toward the police department, even within city government itself. For the inner-city games to be effective, the focus had to be on the youth of the housing projects, drawing them in to participate together with their larger communities, local businesses, city leaders, and the police department. The organizers of the inner-city games hit the ground running, meeting with hundreds of local residents, business owners, and gang truce leaders, engaging all who were willing to talk and organize for a better community. The ultimate goal for the early inner-city games was to engage at-risk youth in athletic competition and to support academic and cultural enrichment, creating a new model for community cohesion, drawn from the Hollenbeck Youth Center experience.
The city at that time was flailing. They were trying to create such things as rebuild LA, but we weren't seeing signs of that really happening. We just saw signs of activity, and that was nice. But Danny is a very hands-on, tangible guy. By tangible, he needs to see results. And the next thing any of us could see, I mean, things were beginning to happen. Kids were getting united. School districts were starting to participate. And people started feeling good about something tangible actually happening.
Let the games begin!
On October 18th, the future of our city changed. In a show of brotherhood, with the spirit of hope, thousands of kids from all over LA's inner city came together for a ceremony that would mark the beginning of a historical week.
With the inner city games, they have the opportunity to get exposed to different races, different cultures, and that's good because it's all the life itself is not black, it's not white.
To me, I know that the inner city games is all about bringing the whole community together as one to prove that all of us can get along.
Bottom line is if the kids are not busy doing something constructive, they're going to do something destructive. When you get them involved in the recreation program and you have a lot of role models and a lot of support from the community and from people around them to keep them involved, then they don't have time for games.
When we first started the Inner City Games, we went into the 21 housing projects in the city of Los Angeles and asked for them to be a total support base of what we wanted to do with the Inner City Games. Now we're going national, and we can do this in every city because we know what it takes in order to form a partnership with the residents, with the police, with the administrative staff, and all together we can make it happen.
Soon after the great success of the 1992 citywide games, the organization was asked by state and local leadership to expand the model to other cities. In 1993, the Hollenbeck Youth Center reached out to boxing champion Evander Holyfield to serve as the first executive commissioner of the Atlanta Inner City Games. And with the success of the Atlanta Games was proof that the Inner City Games model could not only work in Southern California, but also across the country.
This is not just a Los Angeles event. It is going to be a model that will be transferred from city after city.
One of the places that we stopped was Washington, D.C., and we met with the leadership in Congress and actually testified as to the need for after-school prevention programs, monies to be part of the crime bill.
The cities that are safer are those that have neighborhood policing, where the people that live in neighborhoods look at the police as their friends. They see them every day. They work together to keep harmony and peace.
Soon after the LA riots, the unprecedented crime wave had reached its peak, and both violent crime and crimes of property began to drop significantly. Although it's difficult to fully understand all the factors influencing this decline, the relationship between criminal justice expenditures and crime reduction cannot be denied. From the year 2000 till today, crime rates have continued to fall to historic lows, while expenditures for incarceration and police have continued to climb, nearly doubling from $18 billion to well over 30. Although the effectiveness of higher incarceration rates can be debated, in Los Angeles, as more officers have been deployed to the streets, an opportunity has arisen to commit greater resources to community-based policing programs and partnerships, helping organizations to expand their roles addressing social issues and crime prevention from a grassroots perspective. There is broad consensus today among politicians, police, and academics that community-based policing programs are not only effective, but also far more affordable than incarceration.
This is literally worth its weight in gold because it is so inexpensive compared to putting somebody in prison. Putting somebody in prison, as I read the numbers now, is close to $40,000 to $50,000 a year for one person. And how much good can you do in an organization like this with just that one person's yearly price tag?
In the tragic aftermath of the Sandy Hook, Connecticut and Aurora, Colorado tragedies, our nation is once again struggling to find ways to reduce violence in our streets, schools, and communities, at the same time as economic factors facing cities across America threaten to reverse the downward trend in crime. Addressing these complex social dynamics demand proven grassroots solutions for strengthening our communities through common cause and support of all young people. We Are Inner City Games is relaunching to once again engage tens of thousands of Southern California residents and youth from all sectors to recreate the same deep-seated sense of community purpose that energized, inspired, and carried us from 1992 till today. We Are Inner City Games. Please join in our campaign. Together we have rebuilt our city, and together we will embrace the future.